Welcome to e-lecture on functions of human resources management. Functions of human resources management can broadly be classified into two categories: managerial functions and operative functions. Managerial functions include activities which relate to the four functions of management process, but in the context of human resources management. So managerial functions of human resource management includes planning, organizing, directing, and controlling activities for procurement, allocation, utilization, and development of human resources in the organization. Now, let me elaborate it further. We are talking about four functions of management in the context of human resources management. Human resources management broadly would have responsibilities to procure people to work for the company. That is about attracting the talent to work for the organization. And once the people have joined the company, they have to be put on the respective positions, and the proper optimum utilization have to be ensured. While people continue to work for the company, they have to be developed, they have to grow, and for that the company would do a number of activities. For example, their potential assessment, their training and development. So basically we talk of procurement in terms of getting the right people for the vacant positions in the organization, inducting them to the respective job positions. While people continue to work for the company, they have to be utilized properly. Human resources, like any other resources, have to be optimally utilized. And one difference of human resources with that of the other resources in the organization, for example, the financial resources or the machinery or the technology, human resources appreciates over a period of time, and this appreciation is possible only when there is continuous development and growth in terms of the skills, in terms of ability, and experiential learning by the people. This is one of the major distinctions between human resources and other resources in the organization. Other resources, as you would understand, machinery, technology, even the financial resources, they depreciate over a period of time. The value of money depreciates over a period of time. But it's the people, it's the human resources which should appreciate over a period of time. The worth an individual would have today, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, the value of that person would definitely be much more than what he is today, provided the person has been continuously updating himself or herself, and the person has been able to learn the skills, develop the abilities as per the changing requirement of the job, changing the requirement of the organization, and in general the changes which are happening in the environment. So human resources functions would require planning for this. What type of people are to be recruited, how to make them perform as per the expectation of the management, leading them for that, and in case their actual performance is not as per the planned performance, as per the expectations, then how to correct their performance, how to improve their performance. So these functions of human resources management are known as managerial functions. The second set of human resources management functions include the operational activities. Operational activities are the specific activities, for example, recruitment and selection, performance management, training and development, compensation, employee separation, how to work out the layoff, how to work out retrenchment policies. So when, as per the broad guidelines, as per the managerial decisions taken about managing the people in the organization, the activities have to be initiated and whatever the plans are there have to be executed. When the plans are executed, then it has to be performed in terms of the number of activities, number of tasks, and these tasks, most of them which are particularly of repetitive nature, that would be considered operational activity. So even though human resources management is considered a service, a support function, but if you look at the nature of the activity, it will fit into operational aspect of discharging the HR responsibilities on day-to-day basis in the organization. And that's why we call it operative function. Let us understand more about the managerial functions of personal or human resources management. We would use the word personal and human resources management interchangeably because these two terms have been used as a kind of replacement for each other. So let us understand first what are in detail the kind of activities which come under managerial functions. Planning activities of human resources management. As we just have tried to understand, it would include the planning for the number of people required, the type of people in terms of their skill, in terms of their qualification, in terms of the experiences they would have. So identifying the vacancies in the organization and accordingly finding out the sources of supply of the people from where they will come, whether it's a vacancy for the freshers. In case of freshers, what are the college campuses the organization can visit to do the campus placement, campus selection? In case of the vacancies at the senior level, mid level, what are the sources from where these people can be attracted? So identifying first and the foremost activity about the vacant positions in the organization and accordingly coming up with a plan that how these vacancies can be met with the right candidates. So that would require to look into recruitment and selection activities. Likewise, other HR activities also need planning, particularly career planning, planning for the training programs. Training programs, let me clarify, is no more a routine activity in any progressive organization. All the good organizations have to make the training program more and more strategic. It has to relate to the organizational needs. What are the kind of skills the organization would like to develop among the employees? And accordingly coming up with the training and development programs. So, because all of these activities of human resources management would be a cost to the company. So today the companies have to make each and every investment not only in the product development or buying a new technology or procuring the new machinery, but even while the company would try to spend money over the human resources management, company would like to do it in a very justifiable manner so that whatever amount you just spent either on training or development or in managing any other activity of human resources, it has to go as per the requirement of the company. So that's why a lot of planning is required. Human resources planning essentially has to be done in tandem with the organizational plans, business goals. What are the social objectives of the company? That all have to be reflected into the human resource plan, and then these plans would be referred while discharging the different HR activities. Planning is all about future, making the decisions for the things which have to be carried out in future. So that way it includes forecast of the personal or the HR needs, changing values of the organization and its members, developing more and more positive attitude and behavior among the employees so that the attitude and behavior are more aligned to the need of the organization, the organizational goals, and the business plans. The second managerial function of human resources management is organizing. Organizing as a function of management would look at right from the design of the organizational structure, looking at delegation of authority and responsibilities across the hierarchy, across the departments, identifying the areas of cooperation and coordination between two individuals, between two departments. So organizing is all about giving the framework, a structural framework to the organization as per the need of the business, as per the nature of the business, and making sure that people have the adequate authority as per the responsibilities they have been delegated, and how they have to coordinate with each other as an one unified organizational system. Human resources management is a facilitating central department in the organization which has to do a lot of coordination with all other functional departments. And it's not only about the coordination with the functional departments, but all the other functional departments also have to coordinate very well with each other. For example, the sales people have to coordinate very closely with the production team. Production team have to coordinate very well with the design and the development team. And HR, as I said, has to coordinate with all of them. So organizing HR activities includes the whole gamut of organizational functions, which to start with look at whether the structure of the organization, the distribution of the work, creation of the divisions or the departments or the teams, whether they are all supporting the nature of the work, whether that's leading to a well coordinated unit in the organization, or is it that that is leading to some kind of conflict, some kind of overlap of the work. So HR has to play a key role in deciding this critical aspect of the organizational framework. The point you have to remember that when we talk of any kind of HR function, including the planning HR activities or organizing the HR functions, everything has to be aligned to the business goals. Without having a focus on the business goals, no functional plans can be formulated, and HR is not an exception for that. The third managerial function of human resources management is about leading or directing. Leading and directing would include motivating people, giving the instructions, leading the people by giving examples, activating them to attain the organizational goal. Now let us understand it in a different context. All the departments in the organization, they have the functional managers or the functional heads. We call them head of the departments. Now whether these head of the departments have the leadership skills, have the leadership abilities, whether they are able to keep their team members motivated, this is something which human resource management department have to do the assessment with the support of the more senior managers in the organization, and accordingly arrange for the development of these abilities for the functional managers, the functional heads. Leadership does not mean that HR should play itself the role of leader in the organization. No. HR department has to facilitate that leadership, which actually should come through and come from all the functional departments by their respective heads, and then the other people in the hierarchy. Even a manager, if has to manage a team of 10 executives, then the manager has to have that leadership ability so that he can keep his team motivated. The team should be willing to contribute to attain the organizational goals. And for all that, good behavioral skill, good leadership skill is required, and HR is there to facilitate that. And that is the responsibility HR has to develop the leadership in the organization. Potential assessment and development of employees. Let me give you an example. Aditya Bikram, Aditya Birla group of companies have gone to many countries in terms of the spread of their business. Aditya Birla group of companies are now operating from more than 25 countries across the world. Now, when a company is growing and growing not only within its own domestic country, home country, but is growing globally, then different countries, different operations, even the nature of the business would not exactly be one. It's a company which has business interest in many industries. Now, given that kind of situation, the company is in the need of the people who can take the leadership position to manage these overseas operations, the businesses in the different countries. Now, if you're looking for the leaders who can take care of the international business at different locations, so as I said, more than 25 countries, so you need to have people, at least couple of people every location, 50, 60, 25, that kind of connection, that kind of that many number of people, that kind of people would be required. Well, so the idea of doing the potential assessment is also from the point of view of developing the leaders within the organization who will fulfill the requirement of a fastly growing company. The example we had, Aditya Bikram Birla group of companies, these companies are growing very fast. They need more and more people at the leadership positions. So it's the potential assessment of the people at the mid level, at the junior level, who will help the organization identify that who are the people who can be developed for the leadership positions, and this would create a win-win situation for the company as well as for the individual employees. Employees become happier when they grow faster, when they are recognized for their potential and their abilities and their skills, while organization would benefit in terms of that they would have the people ready to take up those role and the position which are critical for the success of business of the company. That's why the potential assessment and development of employees is not only good for the individual employees but also for the company. The last managerial activity is about controlling. When we talk of controlling HR activities, then controlling as the function itself would require to compare the actual performance of individuals, the employees, the teams, the departments, and finally the organization, and compare it with the planned set of activities, the planned performance. If the actual performance is as per the planned performance, then we say that performance is good. And if the actual performance is not as per the expectation, not as per the plan, then some remedial action have to be taken. So it would be true for all the levels across the hierarchy, across the department, and right from the individual's performance level to the team performance, department's performance, and finally the organizational performance. The fact remains that just having the technology, machinery, financial resources, material does not ensure that the output would exactly be as per the expectations unless and until the people behind managing these resources are motivated, they have the right intention, they have the dedication, they have the skills, abilities to carry out their job as per the plan. So, controlling HR activities would typically refer to those functions of human resources management which relate to doing the performance appraisal, performance reviews, performance management, and if the performance is not as per the expectation, then taking the corrective action. If the corrective action would require the company to develop the skill level, if the actual performance is below the expected level of performance, and the reason identified is that the individual doesn't have that level of skill or the ability, then training and development could be a solution. There are many other ways that corrective action can be initiated. People can be given a different role, a different profile. People can be transferred from one to the other department. These all would relate to taking the corrective action. But I'm no way suggesting that it's only the performance appraisal and the training and development which would be covered under the controlling HR activities. It is true for all the functions of human resources management which are uh, performed on day-to-day basis. It could be recruitment and selection. If the recruitment and selection has resulted into employment of a set of people who ultimately cannot perform as per the expectations of the organization, that means the recruitment and selection process need to be reviewed because it is not able to get you the right kind of candidates. So taking the corrective action is critical for further improvement, and the points which must be remembered: HR functions are formulated by HR department but practiced by all the functional managers. So while we think of exercising control, HR will have to depend on all the functional managers. One important link between the managerial functions and the operative functions, that operative functions must be performed as per the managerial functions discharged or decided or planned by the HR department. There must be congruence between the managerial functions and the operational activities of HR department, and both of them have to be in line with the organizational objectives, organizational goals. With that, we complete our discussion on the managerial functions, and let us now get into more detailed understanding of operative functions of personnel or the human resources management department. Related to these operative functions relate to a specific activities, a specific task which are done on day-to-day basis in the organization, and largely they fall under the HR, but as we said that it may be practiced not necessarily by the HR manager or the HR department officials, but by all the functional managers. Example could be recruitment and selection. It's not only that the HR manager has to complete this process of recruitment and selection. If we take example that if there is a need of 10 production supervisors in a manufacturing company. Now production supervisors, while you initiate the recruitment and selection process, the HR department coordinate that throughout the selection process, right at the stage of deciding the uh, potential abilities, the qualification, at the various stages of the selection process, interviews, the final induction of the employees, orientation of the employees, the production manager have to be involved. Production manager have to be involved in each and every stage of the recruitment and selection of the production supervisors. Likewise, if you're selecting the sales executives, sales managers have to be involved. And it's not only about recruitment selection, the same is valid for the other HR activities. HR cannot decide on its own about the performance. Performance has to be appraised by the respective managers. Training has to be identified. The needs for training have to be identified, the respective managers. HR most of the time plays the role of a facilitator. Some of the operational activities, the way they are conducted in a step-by-step process, we can try to understand better with the illustration of employment activity. Employment as a HR activity would start with doing the job analysis. Job analysis is a function where the company would try to find out that what are the kind of activities which needs to be carried out in the organization. To do those activities, what kind of a skill the person must have, the job holder must have, what kind of qualification, and accordingly the profile of the suitable candidate, the ideal candidate, is drawn. Then we go to the next level, and that level would require the analysis of how many such people are required, what should be their attributes, the personality skill, the personality traits, the qualification, their skill, and if they would require to have some experience, some special training. Then we get into the recruitment. Recruitment is all about identifying the potential candidates, where they are, and how we can attract them to apply for the vacant positions in the organization. Then we get into the selection process, wherein the candidate will go through the various written and the different rounds of the interviews. Until they get finally selected, they get the job offer and they accept the job offer, the company would then place them on those positions for which they have been selected. Finally, they are inducted into the organization and they are given the orientation training program where they are briefed about the company's policies, and mostly it is taken care by the HR department, but the job of specific training is given by the uh, head of the department or the immediate reporting officer. So that is how the orientation program is completed for the newly recruited selected people in the organization. The point which we have emphasized already earlier, and that is what you need to remember about the operative functions of personnel and HRM, is that it must be performed in conjunction with the managerial functions of human resources. It must be performed as per the managerial functions which have been decided already earlier. Some more illustrations for the operative functions of human resources management. Human resources development. Human resources development would include activities, the task within HR department like performance appraisal. As I mentioned earlier, that it is during the appraisal that you can find out that how the person has performed over a period of time in terms of the expectations by the management, in terms of the performance plan. So we need to compare the actual performance vis-a-vis the performance which was planned for that individual, or in case of the team performance, the performance planned for that team or the department. In case the performance needs to improve, then we try to find out that what kind of training will help improve the performance of the individuals. Accordingly, the training is conducted. Then we move on to developing the individual for future assignment, and that is what is management development, preparing the people to take up the senior positions in the organization, and that has to be aligned with the career planning and development of the individuals. Another example of operational activity is internal mobility. Internal mobility is about the transfers of the people from one to the other job, one to other department. Sometime it may happen because of the promotion. When people are promoted, they normally are given a different profile, a different set of assignment, maybe a different department. And in case of the corporate companies, the companies which are part of a corporate group, the transfer could be from one unit of the business to the other unit, and it could be, like from one industry to other industry as well. Say for example, employees who are working in Tata Steel, it's quite possible that if required, the corporate HR office may pick up some of the people from Tata Steel and they can be put into the Tata Chemical if they suit the job requirement in Tata Chemical. Tata Chemicals and Tata Steel, these two are the two different business organizations of the Tata group of companies. So that transfer either could be within the same department but different positions. It could be intra, it could be inter departmental transfer, it could be inter or intra organizational transfer if the company belongs to a corporate house. Promotions we talked about, and in some unfortunate kind of situation when the people are demoted, then that also leads to demotion and internal mobility in the organization. Point which have to be remembered, that operative functions must be performed in line with the managerial functions. Organizational development is a concept where the organization's future requirement, keeping in mind the future growth goals, the organizational skills, abilities, the kind of learning the organization would have from its people, keeping in mind more and more the organizational need for development, if is taken care of in terms of providing that kind of training to the people, developing the skills of the people. Most of the time it would be about leadership development, and that all would lead to organizational development. Compensation is another operative function, and the way the people are compensated for their services to the organization would include job evaluation, giving them incentives, bonus, fringe benefits. All these would be the part of compensation. When we take up a topic on compensation, we will have more detailed discussion on all these topics. What are the fringe benefits? Just to help you understand it better, fringe benefits are those benefits offered by the organization to its employees, which normally doesn't go to the employees in as a part of their salary. Say for example, medical insurance by the employer to the employees. The premium of the cost of the medical insurance is borne by the company. So that way, that amount doesn't go as a financial benefit to the people. Most of the time, fringe benefit would be a non-financial benefit. Social security measures. Social security measures would refer to those kind of facilities or part of the compensation to the people, that in terms of any kind of accident, in terms of any untoward accident or any eventuality, what is the kind of security that the people have from the organization. And even the post retirement, what are the benefits the people can have, like the medical benefits, benefits like the pension scheme. These come under the social security measures. Human relation is all about having good relations with the people. That's part of the industrial relations, where the employer and the employees are in good terms with each other, and they contribute, they work together and help the organization realize the organizational objectives. The point which need to be emphasized here, that effective discharge of operative functions of personnel and HRM is very, very critical in realization of the functional and organizational objectives. Functional objectives across the department, sales targets, production targets, completing the financial and accounting activities in time. These are all possible only when the right kind of people are handling these activities. So that's why human resources management is at the core of all the organizational activities, all the functional activities. HR has to play a key role in terms of making sure that the right set of people are available to the organization. They have the motivation, they have the right set of knowledge, skill, and they remain not only motivated but committed to the organization and the organizational objectives. We can summarize the whole discussion through the following points. As we discussed at the beginning of this lecture, the personnel and HRM are the functions which are broadly classified into two categories: managerial functions and operative functions. And these are namely the planning, organizing, leading and controlling HR activities. Managerial functions must be discharged in line with, in congruence with the business strategies of the organization. Human resource management is a function, and this function must be discharged in coordination with all the other functions as per the organizational objectives. Operative functions of HRM in turn have to be aligned to the managerial functions. That's all for this e-lecture on the functions of human resource management, which we divided into two sections, two categories: managerial and operative functions. Thank you.